जय श्री जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्ण।
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So today is Sunday. It is 14th of September. It is Ashwini Masa or Padmanabha Masa, Krishna Paksham, Ashtami Tithi. There are no Vaishnava events in the calendar. So we shall move into our daily Srimad Bhagavatam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, Maitreya Muni speaking to Vidura, so about the creation of the universal form. Or it is the third canto, 6th chapter, Vishwarupa Srishti. So there it was mentioning that after demigods offered their praise to the Supreme Lord in order to carry out their functions, so that they wanted to have knowledge and also the energy so that they can carry out. So after hearing those prayers, the Lord has entered into the all the this is 23 elements of the Tattva, along with he entered along with the Kala Shakti, or she is also called Kali. Kala Sanyam Tada Devi Bibhrasektim Gurukramaha Trayovimshati Tattvanam. Trayovimshati Tattvanam. Trayovimshati is the 23, Tattvanam is the elements. This is 5 Tanmatras, 5 Panchabhutas, 5 Jnanendriyas, 5 Karanendriyas. These are 20 plus Mahatattva and Ahankara, mind. These are the 23 elements Prabhupada described in the purport. So within these 23 elements, the Lord has entered at the one point of time, at the same time. He entered into, or simultaneously, he entered into all the tattvas. Trayovimshati Tattvanam Ganam Yugapat. Yugapat means simultaneously. So that means everything will be manifested and active. Yugapat Avishat, he has entered into those things, those elements. And further, Maitreya Muni says that after Lord entering into those 23 elements by his personal or representative, so here Maitreya Muni says by his personal energy or his representation of this attempt, while to carry out the demigod's functions. So as soon as he entered, and all of their activities like triggered to perform their activities. So in the 3 shlokas, it is mentioned Lord has heard the prayers. Second verse is he has entered into the tattvas, and third is he activated the karmic activities of all the demigods, and not only demigods, all the living entities. That is the third shloka. Okay, so we are in the Srimad Bhagavatam, third canto, chapter 6, verse number 3. So anupravishto Bhagavan cheshta rupena tam ganam bhinnam samyojayamasa suptam karma prabodhayan. So anupravishto Bhagavan. So anupravishta Bhagavan. That Sa, that person. So anupravishta, that entering later on Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Sa and Bhagavan, they are representing, pointing to the Lord. So anupravishtu Bhagavan, Chesta Rupena Tam Ganam, Chesta Rupena, by his representation of attempt, Kali, and Tam Ganam, them, and then all the living entities, including the demigods, Tam Ganam. And then bhinnam samyojayamasa. Bhinnam is separately. So here, each and every living entity and also the tattvas, even though they are separate, he is entering separately into each and every element. Bhinnam samyojayamasa, engaged to work. Samyojayamasa, suptam karma prabodhayan. Suptam is it is in the deep state, dormant state at this moment. All these living entities, they cannot carry out. They're simply waiting for. Suptam karma prabodhayan. Karma is the work and prabodhayan, enlightening. All of their activities will be triggered to act. So anupravishto Bhagavan chesta rupena tam ghanam bhinnam samyojayamasa suptam karma prabodhayan. Translation for this shloka. Thus, when the personality of Godhead entered into the elements by his energy, all the living entities were enlivened into different activities, just as one is engaged in his work after awakening from sleep. Purport by Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Okay, can I request Jayavait Mataji to read the purport, please?
Hare Krishna, yes, thank you. Every individual soul remains unconscious after the dissolution of the creation and thus enters into the Lord with his material energy. These individual living entities are conditioned souls everlastingly, but in each and every material creation, they are given a chance to liberate themselves and become free souls. They are all given a chance to take advantage of the Vedic system and wisdom and find out what is their relationship with the Supreme Lord, how they can be liberated, and what the ultimate profit is in such liberation. By properly studying the Vedas, one becomes conscious of his position and thus takes to the transcendental devotional service of the Lord and is gradually promoted to the spiritual sky. The individual souls in the material world engage in different activities according to their past unfinished desires. After the dissolution of a particular body, the individual soul forgets everything, but the all merciful Lord, who is situated in everyone's heart as the witness, the supersoul, awakens him and reminds him of his past desires, and thus he begins to act accordingly in his next life. This unseen guidance is described as fate, and a sensible man can understand that this continues his material bondage in the three modes of nature. The unconscious sleeping stage of the living entity, just after the partial or total dissolution of the creation, is wrongly accepted as the final stage of life by some intelligent philosophers. After the dissolution of the partial material body, a living entity remains unconscious for only a few months, and after the total dissolution of the material creation, he remains unconscious for many millions of years. But when the creation is again revived, he is awakened to his work by the Lord. The living entity is eternal, and the wakeful state of his consciousness, manifested by activities, is his natural condition of life. He cannot stop acting while awake, and thus he acts according to his diverse desires. When his desires are trained in the transcendental service of the Lord, his life becomes perfect and he is promoted to the spiritual sky to enjoy eternal awakened life. Thank you, Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai. Thank you, Mataji. So here Prabhupada is describing about the dormant condition of the living entity and how he reminds the activities of a living entity. So here, so in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the other part of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is described when the living entity in the womb of a mother. Akalpaha swanga chestayam sekunta iva panjare. Akalpaha swanga chestayam sekunta iva panjare. When the bird in the cage, it cannot do anything. It cannot be, it is always uncomfortable. So it is now captured within the cage. Akalpaha swanga chestayam Sekunta iva panjare. Sekunta is a bird. Iva panjare. It's like it is in the bird. Likewise, living entity, it is in the womb of the mother. It is also captured there. So at the time, Tatra Labdha Smriti Dhaiva Karma Janma Setodbhavam. The living entity, he remembers all his 100 Karma Janma Seta Udbhavam. Seta is the 100 lifetimes. He remembers all the by the mercy of the Lord. Tatra Labdha Smriti Daivad. And then Smaran Dirgham Anuchvasam Sarma Kim Nama Bhindate. By remembering all his past lives, so he now laments, I have come here again. This is called one kind of bad habit. Bhuyo Yata Vesanam Yetad Aneka. This is at the end he mentions Bhuyo Yata Vesanam Yetad Aneka Janma. So many lifetimes he is taking birth again and again. Okay, so and then finally he resolves that he determines with the help of the Lord, I will continue the devotional service at least in this life. Tasmadaham Vikita Viklo Buddharishya Atmanu Masatamsaha Suhrud Atmanaiva. So by the help of the super soul, I will carry out my devotional service at least in this life. So that is his determination when he comes out into this material world. So here every individual soul remains unconscious after the dissolution of the creation and thus enters into the creation and thus enters into the Lord with his material energy. This is called the dormant stage. So for living entity, there are three states. One is the awakening state, and then second level is swapna. Third one is the sushupta. Swapna, Jagruti, Susupta. Susupta is the deep slumber. Swapna is the night time when we sleep, and it is also called a small pralaya. But this deep slumber, it is for longer period, it is in a dormant state. At that time, it is in the body of the Garbhodaka Sai Vishnu. So as long as these universal functions are going on within this universe, we would be staying in this, in the body of Garbhodaka Sai Vishnu. These individual living entities are conditioned souls everlastingly, but in each and every material creation, they are given a chance to liberate themselves and become free souls. They become free souls. So here, this one, even though the Hastinapura women, they are very beautifully glorifying the Lord, Krishna, directly addressing the Lord. So here, Savaikilayam Purushaha Purano Ek Asid Avishesh Atmani Agre Gunebhyo Jagadatmaneshware Nimilitatman Nishishupta Sektishu. Shupta is called dormant state, inactive at night. Nishishupta, inactive at night. So this Hastinapura women, they are glorifying the Lord. They are Sarvasuti Manoharaha. It is the essence of all the Vedas. And also it is so beautiful, Manoharaha, their glorification of Krishna. So they said, here is the original personality of Godhead, as we definitely remember him. He alone existed before the manifested creation of the modes of nature. And in him only, because he is the Supreme Lord, all living beings merge. If sleeping at night, their energy suspended. And then in the next day, what happens? Sayo bhuyo nijiviri choditam swajhiyo mayam prakritim se surkshatim anama rupatmani rupanamani vidittamano anusasara shastrakrut. So and again, the personality of Godhead again desiring to give names and forms to his parts and parcels, the living entities placed them under guidance of material nature by his own potency. Material nature is empowered to create. Material nature is empowered to create. And then further, he also gives, this is a chance. Savayam yat padam atra jitendri nijjita matarishvanaha pasyanti bhakti utkalitaamalatmana Nanveshu sattvam parimastu marhati. So he gives, here is the same Supreme Personality of Godhead whose transcendental form is experienced by great devotees who are completely cleansed of material consciousness by dint of rigid devotional service. So here that cleansing process is going through by dint of rigid devotional service and full control of life and senses, and that is the only way to purify the existence. So this is the Pasyanti Bhakti Utkalitamalaatmana Nanveshu Sattum Parimastu Marhati, completely purifying the mind. So this is that is the only way to purify existence by the devotional service, rigid devotional service, and full control of his life and senses. So here, Srila Prabhupada is describing that these statements here. In each and every material creation, they are given a chance to liberate themselves and become free souls. They're all given a chance to take advantage of Vedic wisdom and find out what is the relationship with the Supreme Lord, how they can be liberated, and what the ultimate profit is in such liberation. So this is what one has to know, that his real identity, and then who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, understanding the relationship, and then executing the steps to get the ultimate benefit or ultimate profit. That is this jnana is called Sambandha, Abhideya, and Prayojana. So these three statements generally Upasadaha, Janmo Upasadaha, while executing the devotional service, he will come to know these three steps. Okay, and also what the ultimate profit is in such liberation. In the liberation, mukti means freeing from all karmic activities and attaining the uh, kingdom of Godhead. So that is the ultimate thing. But liberation is just only the initial state, but there are so many things beyond that. So many things. But generally, the impersonalist, they will just end up with the Brahma. This is also called Brahma Bhota Prasannatma. That is liberation. But there are beyond that, there is a Mad Bhaktim Labhate Param, carrying out the spiritual activities, transcendental activities. Okay, that is further beyond. But anyone comes to Krishna consciousness, minimum they will get the liberation. It is very easy for the Lord to give. That is very minimum. That can be executed, but however, one must understand the relation and this, that is the Sambandha Prayojana, Sambandha Abhideya and Prayojana, those things. And by properly studying the Vedas, one becomes conscious of his position and thus takes to the transcendental devotional service of the Lord and is gradually promoted to the spiritual sky. This is a gradual process. So when we are absorbed in so many materialistic activities, Vishya Vinivattante Niraharate Dehinaha Rasavajjam Rasopyasya Parandrishtva Nivattate. So because of that conceptions, we cannot cleanse all those conceptions in a very single moment. It takes some time because its cleansing process needs to take place. And then and he needs to divert the mind for the higher taste. Param društva nivattate. Otherwise, it is not possible. Still, those conceptions are still demands. So the individual souls in the material world engage in different activities according to their past unfinished desires. So this is the unfinished desire. That's why he keeps on coming back. But this is, we cannot say, okay, this person is he knows so much of philosophy. He must be highly elevated devotee. Outside, we may be thinking in different dimensions, but it is a journey within the heart. What are the desires still left in the heart? That can be only understood by the Lord and that particular individual entity, individual living entity, not by anyone else. Outside, we may see so many other things. Okay, that's why that is tam jiva karma padivim anuvartamanaha. The Lord, he supervises the activities of the living entity. That's why Upadrashta Anumanta cha Bhatta Bhokta Maheshwar Upadrashta Anumanta. He is the seer and he is the permission giver. Anumanta is he gives the approval to the living entity to experience those desires or to fulfill his desires. And then after dissolution of a particular body, the individual soul forgets everything. And then, but all merciful Lord, who is situated in everyone's heart as the witness, this is Upadrashta. Super soul awakens him and reminds him of his past desires, and thus he begins to act accordingly in the next life. So sometimes this is the material nature, it orchestrates the activities in and around us according to our desires. It is not that something is happening accidentally like that. Everything is orchestrated by the material nature based on our desires. I wanted to become a pure devotee of the Lord. That is my desire. But still, I may be engaging in something else, like going to the offices and coming. But what is going in the heart, Lord always carefully observes. And then, Maya Dhakshana Prakriti Suyate Sacharacharam. Prakriti, what it will do? It will orchestrate accordingly. It will orchestrate the activities accordingly, according to the desire of a living entity. And this unseen guidance is described as the fate, and sensible man can understand that this continues his material bondage in the three modes of nature. This is Prakritehi Karmani, Gunehi Karmani Sarvashaha. Gunehi Karmani Sarvashaha. This material nature is working everything on the body because he has got still material desires. But what living entity thinks, Ahankar Vimudatma Kattaham iti manyate. He thinks that I am doing these activities personally. But actually, it is not he doing because he has got a desire is the main thing in the heart. Kama yesha krodha yesha rajoguna samudbhavaha. Because of that, he is entangled in this material world and material nature is working on those desires and orchestrating those activities and his body acting like a puppet. But actually, he is simply experiencing his pains and pleasures. This is also called Yantra Ruhdani Maya, Brahmayan Sarvabhutani, Yantra Ruhdani Maya. This body is a mission. And further, Prabhupada describes the unconscious sleeping state of the living entity just after the partial or total dissolution of the creation is wrongly accepted as the final stage of life by some less intelligent philosophers. So when Krishna says that Kaivalyam eva Maitreya Muni says Kaivalyam, not Maitreya Muni, Lord Brahma, of course, Maitreya Muni repeats, and Brahma says to all the demigods about the description of the Vaikuntha. So there, Yatra Naishreshav Nama Vanam Kamadugaihi Dhrumaihi Sarvattu Sribhi Vibhrajat Kaivalyam eva Muttimat. In the spiritual planets, the living entities are always active, engaged in different services and activities. And again, we see the beautiful description of the Vaikuntha, third canto, chapter 15. It is the description of kingdom of Godhead. There we see all those things. But attaining to that one, before that itself, one must be liberated. That is, liberation is a minimum thing, minimum qualification. And after that, mad bhaktim labate param, nimitta nimitten dharmen aradayan harim. Those activities must be continued. And one must be very dear to the Lord. That is Achyuta Priya Bandhavaha. And Krishna gives who are all dear to the Lord in the 12th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Okay, so and here for the philosophers, they think that just minimum thing as the ultimate end for them. So after dissolution of the partial material body, a living entity remains unconscious for only a few months. This is between why few months means once we leave this body and entering into the another body. So during that time, we stay dormant in the womb of a mother for around 6 months. From the 6th month onwards, what happens? Kapila Bhagavan describes the living entity in the womb. First month, so Kalalam tu ekaratrena pancharatrena budbudam. And Dasahenito Karkanduhu Pesyandhamba Tatah Param. And then first month is the bones and hair, second month, and then little bit more the bone marrows that will be formed, and third month, like the with all different kind of linga chidrudbhavstribihi. Third month, linga chidrudbhavstribihi. The holes are 9 holes, Navarandras, they form. And then fourth month under gradual development, fifth month likewise. Uh, in the sixth month, so he will get the he will become hungry. Until that point, uh, after 6 months, he will be moving the Brahmiti Dhakshine, Kukshe Brahmiti Dhakshine in the womb of mother. The baby starts moving. Until that point, so is in the dormant state only for a few months. So around 7 months, Prabhupada described in somewhere else. It is 7 months, something like that. It is unconscious for only a few months. After that, he remembers the his real position. Tatra labdha smriti dhaivat karma janma setudbhavam. After that final dissolution of the material creation, he remains unconscious for many, many millions of years. This is the second level of dormant state. And then, but when the creation is again revived, he is awakened to his work by the Lord. So again, this is the Brahma's next day. Brahma's night time, all the living entities are in the dormant in the body of Garbhodaka Sai Vishnu. And then in the next day, again Brahma, he creates further. And the living entity is eternal, and the wakeful state of his consciousness manifested by activities is his natural condition of life. And he cannot stop acting while awake, and thus he acts according to his diverse desires. That is, desires. And then when his desires are trained in the transcendental service of the Lord, his life becomes perfect, and he is promoted to the spiritual sky to enjoy eternal awakened life. Okay, likewise, Prabhupada is describing um, here this is everything is based on the Suptam Karma Prabhodayan. And Suptam Karma Prabhodayan. This is dormant state, and then later on, all the activities are triggered to act. So अनुप्रविष्ट भगवान चेष्टरूपेण तं घनं भिन्नं संयोजयामास सुप्तं कर्म प्रबोधयन्. Okay, that is from Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Okay, we shall move to Srila Prabhupada's daily letter. So today letter to Krishnadasa, November 15th, 1970, Bombay. Okay, can I request any devotee to read this letter? Or it's a little bit a long letter, it looks. Can I request Meena Mataji to read half, and then Usha Mataji read half, please?
Yeah, okay, Krishna. My dear Krishna Das, please accept my blessing. I beg to thank you for your letter dated October 27, 1970, and noted the content with interest. I am very glad that by Krishna's grace you have secured a very nice place in Berlin for our temple there and with Sivananda in charge, I am sure things will go on well there. I am so glad to hear that in Hamburg your program is going on smoothly. Always work cooperatively in Krishna consciousness without any self motivation, and your progress toward the perfection stage of Krishna consciousness life is ascertained. I have already sent one Gayatri tape to London, and it is being kept safely there along with a full set of instructions for performing the ceremony. The mantra is to be heard only by the new initiated through earphones and once once only. So if you find Natbara, Yogeshwara, Indrani, and Haripriya properly qualified, you may perform the ceremony duly. Mandali Bhadra marriage with Srimati Haripriya, I think it is all right. So they may be married with my full blessing upon them in their work together in Krishna's service. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada.
Thank you, Mataji. Usha Mataji, would you like to read the rest of it, Mataji, please?
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Hare Krishna. Regarding Russia, I am very anxious to establish a center that is Moscow, and if I am invited, I can go there. In the meantime, I think you should be the only one to hold correspondence with the Indology professors, no one else. This correspondence should be conducted very cautiously with Russia. You can ask them some questions like what is the ultimate goal of life? What is your ideal ultimate goal of life? What is the difference between animal and human life? Why is religion accepted by all kinds of civilized societies? What is your conception of the original creation? In this way, question may be put to find out what is their standing. We do not grudge an atheist provided he has got some philosophical standing. In this way, try to elicit some uh, answers from the professors. If you can finally establish one Moscow center, it will be a great credit to you. So far, studying Russian language, it is not necessary. But if you do so, it is alright. I want very much a center in Russia. So for the time being, I shall desire that Moscow center. Please offer my blessings to your good wife and all the other devotees there. Hope this will meet you in good health. Your ever well-wisher, A.C. Vedant Swami, Swami Srila Prabhupada. Please, Jai.
Jai. Thank you, Mataji. Meena Mataji, any takeaway points, Mataji, from this portion that you have read? Meena Mataji?
I'm sorry, I'm talking in mute. Sorry. Uh, yeah, first of all, Prabhupada, Das, about their letter, and then afterwards, and then he also because he also saying that by Krishna's grace he get nice place in Berlin, and then it was said with the Sivananda, we will everything will be working well over there. Yeah, and at Hamburg work is also going smoothly, so Prabhupada is pleased with that as well. Yeah, and then he's very pleased about this, all the progress was doing in Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada is very pleased, and and he was very happy for that. And then Prabhupada has sent some Gayatri tape to London, and to an order to perform the ceremony. And Prabhupada instructed this mantra has to be said one time on earphone, not loudly, and given the who are taking the initiation, and given their names, yeah, to yeah. So yeah, so and then Prabhupada. And then he also said that the marriage with Mandalali and Padra's marriage was very nice. Everything is all right, and so then Prabhupada given the blessing to them as well. And also saying the blessing to them and do their nice work in Krishna service. So yeah, something take away point. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Very nicely summarized. Usha Mataji, any the takeaway points.
Yes, Prabhu. So Prabhupada is asking Krishnadas to opening the center in Moscow, and he's a very Prabhupada is anxious about the center in Moscow. And then in the meantime, we can ask that, the question about to the, I think to the people or to the professor or something. He said, what is your goal of life? And what is the, human life? What is the difference between animal life and human life? And that what is that, why that religion is accepted by one kind of civilized society. So it's better asking the question about that people, what is that goal of life, and this way they can you can explain about the I think, and then you can spread the Krishna consciousness or something. Maybe, yeah. So and that he wants to learn the Russian language, but Prabhupada said it's not necessary. The main goal is if you can open the center in Moscow. So that's his desire to be open the center in Moscow. Yes, probably that's a takeaway. What is the human lives? Why that? What is the difference between human life and then animal life? The Prabhupada always said animal also they eat, they sleep. Human have something different. So this is if you do this one, then no difference between human and animal. So yeah, that's the one that I don't understand one of the words. So if you can elaborate the word grudge, we do not grudge. What is it the word? And it is provided. Yes, good son. Yeah, I could not understand the word. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Mataji. Any other points Javed Mataji wanted to add?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji and Mataji. So I was just thinking that the Berlin temple, Prabhupada was very happy because I remember we read just a few days ago that he was very keen to secure the Berlin temple just very few days ago. So within few days, they managed to secure that place. So it's quite an achievement that they managed to progress with the work very quickly and achieve that, because I think he wanted that, being a communist country, he wanted a place there. So that bit, Prabhupada is very happy about that. And the Gayatri tape, I think Mataji already explained. Obviously, we wouldn't know, but it's a confidential mantra that only the initiated people need to hear. So that bit, the one in Russia, I couldn't hear Mataji very well, but I think Prabhupada feels that, it's best to discuss it properly with these professors who are studying Indian philosophy and culture and all that, but not to grudge them, like not to harbor any ill feelings towards them. We need to give them like a chance for them to tell us what their understanding is. So, no, about various questions mentioned here. So yeah, don't just grudge them. Give them, a chance to explain. They may be atheist, but we can't just harbor any ill feelings towards them. Everybody has a right to have, their opinions, but at least find what their standing is. And sorry, Mata, I couldn't hear Mataji properly, so I'm not saying anymore. But and he's very happy with that they managed to find the center in, if they can secure in Moscow, it will be a great credit. And then he emphasizes there's no need to study Russian language. And yeah, I think was it yesterday or day before yesterday, Jay Pataka Maharaj also wanted to learn Hindi and other languages. And he said, there's no need, but if you wanted to, that's fine. I suppose long term it would help to understand their culture and convey the message of Krishna consciousness to them as well, if you know their language, if you can communicate. But at the moment, maybe not necessary. Just focus on Krishna consciousness. That's my understanding. I think. Sorry. Like I said, I couldn't hear properly.
Thank you, Mataji. Very nicely explained as well. Any other comments, dear devotee?
No, thank you, Jared Mataji, for explaining very well. Thank you. I could not understand some words, so I couldn't explain. So thank you for explaining. Hare Krishna.
Okay, so that is if someone comes like a materialistic person, he's saying whatever you're doing is not right. And we devoutly say that, okay, this life is eternal, we need to do something for that. In our after leaving off this body, we still alive within a consciousness. This when we try to say, and if they're still arguing that we do not grudge against them. So, but we need to. This is called Krishna with Navichalayet. So Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. So there he mentions specifically about such people in the Karma Yoga. So here disturb. So if I see it is that shloka. It is Krishna with Navichalayet. Okay. Vichalayet. So this one, Krishna with Navichala. So Prakritehe guna sammodaha sajjante guna karmasu. Tan Krishna, Tan Akrishna Vido Mandan. He is Akrishna Vido Mandan. Krishna with Navichalayet. The foolish people, they know something and then carrying out their activities. But Krishna with who knows, understand the philosophy. Navichalayet, that means, so should not try to agitate them. So here, bewildered by the modes of material nature, the ignorant fully engage themselves in the materialistic activities and become attached. They are become attached to the materialistic activities. But the wise should not unsettle them, although these duties are inferior due to the performer's lack of knowledge. So, the wise should not unsettle them. So that is what Krishna with Navichalaya. So, materialist is here in this letter. We do not grudge on the atheist provided he has got some philosophical standing. There are some people, they do not have any philosophy. That is mode of ignorance. It is very difficult to say anything, a single word about them. They're always अयुक्तः प्राकृतः स्तब्धः शतो नैष्कृतिकोलसः विषाददीर्घसूत्री च कर्ता तामस उच्यते. People of अयुक्तः प्राकृतः स्तब्धः शतो नैष्कृतिकोलसः. They are very experts in insulting others. They do not engage. They are विषाददीर्घसूत्री च, lamenting always for something which is not permanent. They are called people in the mode of ignorance. We cannot argue anything with them. So this is one point Prabhupada is mentioning. So, but we need to ask some kind of questions. So, what is the ultimate goal of life? What is your ideal ultimate goal of life? And what is the difference between animal and human life? Why is religion accepted by all kinds of civilized societies? Likewise, Prabhupada wanted to put such kind of questions.
Prabhuji, can I ask something? Would that count as an offense? Not at this stage where they have not provided what the standing is, but what you mentioned just now, that somebody are really in the mode of ignorance. Would that count as an offense if we try to preach them? That's one of the 10 offense. Would that count as like that?
So this one, it is again the purity is the force. So in our heart, we wanted to give this Krishna consciousness to the people. Okay, so one here, what we wanted to do it, that is one reflection. And other side, what is the opposite person? That also need to be understand. That can be understand by the initial little few words of conversation, whether he is interested or not interested. That also needs to be properly understood. So here Krishna is mentioning Krishna with Navichalayet. One should not try to agitate them. And then in the similar kind, if you just hold on to that position, and again Krishna saying in the another shloka, in the 18th shloka, where Krishna describes that na bhaktaya, na atapaskaya. So here, after Sarvadharman Parityajya, he describes these statements. Idam te na atapaskaya, na abhaktaya kadachana, na cha asusrushave vachyan, na cha mam yo abhisuyate. The confidential knowledge may never be explained to those who are not austere or devoted or engaged in devotional service, not to one who is envious of me. So now take this point and also take this point also. Do not try to agitate. So taking those 2 points, and also devotees are very compassionate. They are compassionate to all the living entities. They will go further beyond that Prabhupada also mentions here. But this kind of information in the first few words of conversations with a person, we will sense what kind of person he is, whether it is required or not required to preach. If he is still in mode of ignorance, if he is falling in one of these activities, no austerity, no devoted, no engaged in devotional service, and he is envious of Krishna, then what we do? Just to only give some kind of prasadam and then coming out of the conversation. That's all. We do not stress too much.
Thank you. It makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji.
I have a quick question, if I may, about the purport, the Bhagavatam purport, if it's okay, please.
Yes, Mataji, please.
So I just very 2 or 3 quick questions. The desires, the desires that we take birth again due to our desires. Are those desires from the previous birth or from many years?
Many years.
Many years. Okay. The second thing is the partial life that we are talking about here. After the dissolution of the partial life, so that is this. That is the human body when they give up, when they pass away, and the soul goes to the next. When they go into the womb of the next, into the womb of the next person, that soul goes straight away to that womb, or is there a time lag? Once they pass away from this body to the next, is there like a lag?
There is a little bit of lag time. That is called generally. We call it whenever person leaves the body, observation period of around 11 days, 13 days, something like that. We maintain, we observe. But the people who are devotees, they will be under the jurisdiction of Krishna. So the dehopi devashaka kalu karma yavat swarambakam samikita eva sasru. So there, material nature or Yamadharmaraja or his associates does not come to the devotees of Krishna. That is, one side is clear. That is, devotees are always at the highest level. They are not coming into the material nature. Now, people about the material people, what they do, as soon as they leave the body, यमदूतौ तदा प्राप्तो भीमौ सर्भस ईक्षणौ दृष्टा त्रस्त हृदयः सकृत्मुत्र विमुञ्चति. So as soon as they see the people, Yamadharmaraja's Parshvadas, they are very afraid. These materialistic people, they're very afraid, and then they will even pass the stool and urine, but just by looking at them, that is very difficult. So here, Kapila Bhagavan describes that movements of the living entities. So this one is the So this one, Yamadoto tada prapto bhimo sarabhasa ikshanam tad sadruštva trasta hradayah sekrut mutram vimunchati. And then what happens? Later on, as a criminal is arrested by punishment by the constables of the state, a person engaged in the criminal sense gratification is similarly arrested by the Yamadotas, who bind him by the neck with a strong rope and cover his subtle body so that he may undergo severe punishment. And then later on they have taken, while carried out by the constables of Yamadharmaraja, he is overwhelmed and trembles in their hands. While passing on the road, he is bitten by dogs and he can remember the sinful activities of his life. He is thus terribly distressed. And under the scorching sun, so this is different kinds of uh, remembering him, what kind of activities he has done. Under scorching sun, criminal has to pass through roads of hot and with forest fires on both sides. He is whipped on the back by the constables because of his inability to walk, and he is afflicted by hunger and thirst. But unfortunately, there is no there is no drinking water, no shelter, and no place for rest on the road. And then here it mentioned, while passing on the road to abode of Yamaraja, he falls down in fatigue and sometimes he becomes unconscious, but he is forced to rise again. In this, in this way, he is very quickly brought to the presence of Yamaraja. And then, so here this is the statement I wanted to mention. Thus, he has to pass 99,000 yojanas within 2 or 3 moments. This is called Tribihi Muhurtaihi द्वाभ्यां वा त्रिभिर्मुहूर्तैः द्वाभ्यां वा सो नीतः प्राप्नोति यातनाः योजनानां सहस्राणि नवतिं नवचाध्वनः. This is 99 yojanas. So from the earth planet, this Yamaloka is in the 99,000 yojanas distance, and from up to there it will take tribihi muhurtaihi dvabhyam va. It is 2 or 3 muhurtas time. That is, one muhurta is 48 minutes, something like that, approximately calculated. So 2 to 3 muhurtas means around 48 into maximum is 120 minutes. That is 2 to 3 hours. Sorry, around 2 hours. Within 2 hours itself, that living entity can be taken to the Yamadharmaraja's abode. And then he is at once engaged in the torturous punishment which he is destined to suffer. So 2 hours time itself, he will go to the Yamadharmaraja's abode. And then there he is given a particular settled body and he will spend all the punishments. So here, again, whatever is happening here, 2 hours so far, and then further, this one also described. Yam 29 shloka here, I think. So this is yes. And my dear mother, it is sometimes said that we experience hell or heaven on this planet for hellish punishment, or sometimes visible on this planet also. Because Prabhupada describes here, once he has taken to the Yamadharmaraja's abode, he will be trained or he will be punished in such a way that if he takes birth again in this material world and take birth in the hellish condition, he does not feel so much uncomfort. And then, see, if you look at here, it is stated previously that in any hellish condition, the conditioned soul thinks he is happy. Otherwise, it would not be possible for him to suffer hellish life because he has been trained in the hellish planet. So here it is described. See, this is the practice living condition on the planet of Yamaraja. The sinful man is given the chance to practice living in the hellish conditions which he will have to endure in the next life. And then he is given a chance to take birth on another planet to continue his hellish life. So because of these things, sometimes even the people, narkastopi dehum vai puman tyaktum micheti, he does not like to leave the hellish condition of life because he is trained already. So he thinks that he is happy there. Okay, and then all this happens. How much time? So after taking to the abode of Dharmaraja, he spent some time, and then he will be later coming back to this material world for the next life. And then so this observation period after man died, how long it would be observed? Maybe 11 days or 13 days until the last days or the same kind of ceremonies are there. And then he will be just back into the womb of another mother.
Yeah, so thank you, Prabhuji. Obviously, because some of my thinking comes from Jainism as well. They believe the soul takes place, the soul goes straight away into the next body, straight away. There is no lag, but obviously we are following this. So yeah, so I understand now. Yeah, thank you. And my final question, very quickly, is that in the body, in the mother's womb, the do we remember all our previous lives, but as soon as we come out, we forget, and we the Lord just obviously wants us to remember our desires, but as soon as we come out, we forget. Is that what it is? Or we just remember our desires?
So as soon as we come out, we forget, but we remember when we are in the womb.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So this one, if we read this one, akalpaha swanga cheshtayam sekuntaiva panjare tatra labda smriti daivat karma janma setudbhom smaran dirgam anuchvasam sarma kim nama vindate. So here, the child thus remains just like a bird in a cage without freedom of movement. At the time, if the child is fortunate, he can remember all the troubles of his past 100 births, and he grieves wretchedly. What is the possibility of peace of mind in that condition? So this is when he remembers his past 100 births. Tatralabdha smriti dhaivad. Now, what happens after that? This is all happens in the 6th month. And then Arabhya Saptaman Masan Labda Bodho Pivepitaha Nekatra Sisuti Vataihi Vishtabuhu Ivasodaraha. And from the seventh month after this conception, thus endowed with the development of consciousness from the 7th month after this conception, after his conception, the child is tossed downward by the aids that press the embryo during the weeks preceding delivery, like the worms are born out of the same filthy, abdominal cavity. He cannot remain in one place. So sometimes born of the same sahabudaraha. Sabudaraha means the worms and also baby, they are called brothers. Sometimes in our day-to-day conversations, sahodara, you are there are many sounds also. Sahodara means we both are born from the same womb. Brothers, they are called brothers. So here worms are also brothers of a living entity, that baby. So he cannot remain. He will be keep on rotating in the womb from the 7th month onwards. Okay, and there he is remembering now the past 100 lifetimes. Now what happens after that? There are so many things. We just pass through all these things. Baby prays, and then there are so many beautiful prayers. Okay, so we just skip the prayers. If we go into every shloka, very nice reflections that we could see. And after the prayers, he's still praying to the Supreme Lord. Oh, my dear Lord, तस्मादहं विगतविक्लव उद्धरिष्य आत्मानुमासु तमसः सुहृदात्मनैव भूयो यथा व्यसनम् एतद् अनेकरन्ध्रं मामे भविष्यति उपसादित विष्णुपादः. So he prays the last sloka of his prayer. Therefore, without being agitated anymore, I shall deliver myself from the darkness of nescience with the help of my friend, clear consciousness. Simply by keeping the lotus feet of the Lord Vishnu in my mind, I shall be saved from entering into the wombs of many mothers for repeated birth and death. So he will be saved. I shall be saved from entering into womb of many mothers. This is the last prayer. And then what happens? When he was still praying, but the Sutivatahi, the air in the womb of the mother, it pushes the baby. So here, the 10-month-old living entity has these desires even while in the womb. But while he was thus extols the Lord, the wind that helps uh, parturition propels him forth with his face turned downward, so that he may be born. So this is called the prasuti. Evam krita matihi garbhe dasamasyah stuvan ऋषिः. Still he was praying, stuvan. At that time, that is stuvan is extolling Rishihi, the living entity. Sadhyakshapati avachinam, avachinam. So, and then prasutyai suti marutaha. Prasutyai suti marutaha. So he is now pushed downwards from the womb of the mother, and then so that he will take birth. And then what happens? Pushed downward all of a sudden by the wind, the child comes out with great trouble, head downward and breathless and deprived of memory due to severe agony. So this is the answer for your question, Mataji. Deprived of memory due to severe agony.
Thank you so much. I do remember you mentioning about the worms and how the skin looks all red when they come out and all that. That we didn't know. So I remember you saying that before. But thank you so much. It was such a lovely purport by Prabhupada, that what we read before. Yeah, thank you.
So here, these worms, they're always krubibhikshata sarvangaha. So kumaryat pratikshanam मूर्छयन्ति आपनोति मूर्छयाम् आपनोति उरुक्लेशः तत्र तैः क्षुदितैः मुहुः. Would you like to read the translation, Mataji?
Bitten again and again all over the body by the hungry worms in the abdomen itself, the child suffers terrible agony because of his tenderness. He thus becomes unconscious moment after moment because of the terrible condition. Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji. So those worms, they're also hungry there. They also want to take the chance to bite the tender body of the baby. And then baby goes unconscious moment after moment. It is a difficult situation for him. But outside, the parents feel, oh, my baby is moving, and then they feel so much happy, but they do not know how much pain that baby is going through. That's why mothers must be very careful about the baby's health. So we should be maintaining the cleanliness and eat only the fruits, vegetables, milk, and always keep the body clean. And eat when you are eating only bland foods, not the spicy foods also. So in the previous shloka, it is described मातुः जग्ध अन्नपाद्यैः एतद्धातुः हसम्मते सेति विन्मुत्रयोर्घट्टे स जन्तुः सम्भवे. This is one thing. And here mother eats like some kind of foods. Katu तीक्ष्ण उष्ण लवण रूक्ष आम्लादिभिः उल्बणैः मातृभुक्तैः उपस्पृष्टः सर्वांगो उत्थितवेदनः. When mother eats food, so owing to the mother's eating bitter, pungent foodstuff or food which is too salty or too sour, the body of the child incessantly suffers pains which are almost intolerable. That's why mother always given the bland foods, not too much spicy things, so that baby would not feel so much uncomfort. So one has to be this conscious. It is not only that baby is moving, means it is not always happy thing that baby is. We must understand those things. Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Thank you so much. Sorry for taking time. Sorry.
Mataji, that is very nice questions. Thank you so much. Okay, so that is coming back to the Srila Prabhupada's letter, or okay, the desires. Okay, how the living entity, he remembers and he forgets after as soon as he takes birth. And then Lord gives the material nature orchestrates outside activities. Yeah, any other things related about this? Okay, so if you are all happy, then, and from the announcements point of view, okay, so again, today is Sunday, we do not have anything in the evening, and tomorrow, Monday, again, our week starts, and teachings of Lord Chaitanya continues. Okay, our journey continues, the spiritual journey. And dear devotees, if you have got any updates or you wanted to share anything on Krishna consciousness, kindly do so. Hare Krishna. Okay, if there are no updates, then we shall move to the next part. And if you're happy, unless you have got some other business, we shall move to the next part is the Ramayana. So just only read a page of paragraphs. So in the Ramayana, they wanted to pour Bharata, Shatrugna, and Kaushalya, Sumitra, Kaikeyi, and Vasistha. Everyone are present, and they are all trying to take Ramchandra to the Ayodhya. So that is the place. And then out of those conversations, Rama's determination is very firm. And so Rama spoke something like one has to carry out the duties properly. And then actually one has to follow the father's instructions. And after that, there is one of the Brahmana in those entourage who is accompanying Bharata. He wanted to try to preach atheistic philosophy and then to convince Ramchandra to take to the Ayodhya. And then so Ramchandra is hearing carefully what Jabali is saying. Jabali says that why to unnecessarily think of the people who have already died? We just here like a to enjoy. So he continued to speak in the atheistic philosophy. I lament for those who forsake sense pleasures for the austerities of religious life, said Jabali, rising to his feet, hoping for future happiness. They meet only with the extermination at death. Having led a life of suffering, the scriptures have been written by intelligent Brahmins who wish to exalt sacrifice and charity. In this way, these Brahmins have assured their own livelihood. So this is what we are going to continue. So here Jabali is trying to preach the atheistic philosophy and thinking that only the Brahmanas have uh, written by intelligent Brahmins. Scriptures have been written by Brahmins. So nowadays, many people think that when we say some scriptures, okay, this religion, this scripture has come 1500 years ago, this scripture is coming 2000 years ago. But they say that Vedas is always existing, but that must also have been written by some person. But how can they become transcendental? Without writing those scriptures, how can it is possible? Likewise, atheistic people question, even though Vedas means Shrutis, they are the knowledge in the form of the sound, and it is a practical in day-to-day lives. That is through the sound vibrations. But here, some people, and when Vyasadeva was just an instrument to give the literary form for all the Puranas and everything, which is already existing knowledge. So here, likewise, Jabali, he is trying to speak the atheistic philosophy the similar way, and he wanted to convince Ramachandra to take to the Ayodhya. And here, these Brahmins who wish to exalt sacrifice and charity in this way, these Brahmins have assured their own livelihood. Their own livelihood. But actually, Brahmana's position is it is not the sense gratification. This is Samaha, Damaha, Tapaha, Arjavam, and Astikyam. So these are the qualities of a Brahmana. That one it is described in the 18th chapter and the 45 shloka, 45 or 46, something like that. So these are, let us go and see those things as well. So here, Semo Damaha Tapaha Saucham, Shantir Ajhvam Evacha, Jnanam Vijnanam Astikyam, Brahma Karma Swabhavajan. Peacefulness, self-control, austerity, purity, tolerance, honesty, knowledge, wisdom, and religiousness. These are the natural qualities by which or Brahmanas work. That is the Brahmanas work. Now, coming to here, this point, what Jabali is mentioning, that Brahmanas are doing in this way, they have assured their own livelihood, but that is not the Brahmanas work. But he is trying to say, okay, this is where we have been standing in the last session. Okay, so we shall continue further. Can I request Jai Vaid Mataji to read a page of paragraphs and then.
Sorry, how many paragraphs?
One page, Mataji.
One page. Okay. Hare Krishna. Jabali smiled as he spoke his false philosophy. No one in the assembly accepted his words, but they too hoped that Ram would yet be convinced to leave the forest. Everyone listened in silence as Jabali concluded his speech. Knowing this truth, O Rama, you should renounce your foolish asceticism. There is nothing beyond this visible universe. Do not depend for your happiness on anything outside of that which you can see and immediately experience. Therefore, O great prince, accept the kingdom and enjoy it as the undisputed ruler. Ram sat down again as Jabali stopped speaking. Looking at the Brahmin, he said, "A man is known by his conduct alone. Although posing as a learned and cultured person, one who acts as you direct is to be accepted as sinful and debased. Those who are wise never praise a person who acts only to please his senses. Such a person is mean, selfish and greedy, driven only by lust for pleasure. His immediate happiness soon turns to distress and he sinks into a hellish condition. Ram appeared angry as he refuted Jabali. His eyes were red and he spoke gravely. If I were to follow the path espoused by you, O atheistic one, then this entire earth would be cast into ruin. All men followed the king's example, abandoning the religious path. The people would become licentious and uncontrolled. Chaos would prevail and everyone would suffer. Thank you.
Mataji. So here, Jabali is smiling. So he knows whatever he is trying to preach and to convince Ramachandra. That is here because Jabali is one side, Bharata is one side, and all others are they're all trying to convince Ramachandra only. Okay, so whatever they are doing is not wrong because they are associating with the Lord. This is Krishna and Rama transcendental. That one, it is the highest high level philosophy. But outside, for the people who are observing that activities, so but Rama should not be tolerating those words from the Jabali because he need to address those words. And here Jabal is mentioning no one in the assembly accepted his words, but they too hoped that Rama would yet be convinced to leave the forest. Everyone listened in silence as Jabali concluded his speech. So here in both ways, Jabali is internally he is happy. Whether he is condemned by Ramchandra, he is happy. And if Rama comes to the Ayodhya, he is happy. In both ways, Jabali he has understood and then trying to preach this. Okay, so he is prepared for that one as well. So now, knowing this truth, oh Rama, you should renounce your foolish asceticism. There is nothing beyond this visible universe. Uh, do not depend for your happiness on anything outside of that which you can see and immediately experience. Therefore, O great prince, accept the kingdom and enjoy it as the undisputed ruler. So Prabhupada, a number of times, one statement he mentions, there is one atheistic rishi, so Charvaka Muni. He is Runam Krutva Gurtam Pibhet. Even though take a loan of amount and then buy a ghee and prepare nice dishes and eat. And then Runam Krutva Gurtam Pibhet. Yavat Jivet Sukham Jivet. And you enjoy the life like anything. Bhasmi Bhotasya Dehasya Kutaha Punaragamo Bhavet. And once the body is vanishes, you do not have to pay debts also for them. You do not have to think about sinful. Bhasmibhutasya dehasya kutha punaraghamano bhavet. And how can you would experience all these pains or sinful activity? Likewise, there is one atheistic Muni also, Charvaka Muni. Muni means he's a mental speculator. He is different from other person. So likewise, Prabhupada says. So such kind of atheistic philosophers also existed with the name of Muni. Okay, likewise here, Jawpal is also mentioning. So you now try to do immediate for your immediate happiness. Do not depend on something like someone who has already left the body, and do not try to uh, put yourself in the distressful conditions. Likewise, come and accept the kingdom, enjoy it as the undisputed ruler. So now it is a term for Ramchandra to stand for Dharma. Rama is the personified Dharma. And Jabali stopped looking at the Brahmin, Ramachandra. So he is mentioning to Jabali, a man is known by his conduct alone. Man is known by his conduct alone. One must see whatever the activities of a person. So in the day-to-day activities, whether he is going to the office and enjoying with the family and then going through the entertainment things, is it his lifestyle or having a life prescribed life, very strict life, going through the rigid rules and regulations of the Vedic scriptures, living like that, whether he is living for a higher purpose, this is by a man is known by his conduct alone, that can be exhibited through the actions and the words. Actions and the words, two things. Sometimes even Prabhupada says that if you wanted to know whether a opposite person is a gentleman or a foolish person, if you start making conversation and then if you hear some words from his mouth, what kind of words he speaks, immediately you understand whether he is a fool or not. Okay, so that is by a man is known by his conduct. Although posing as a learned and a cultured person, one who acts as you direct is to be accepted as sinful and debased. Because this is, if one thinks like that, I wanted to enjoy whatever is available, and then it makes it is uncontrollable things. Those who are wise never praise a person who acts only to please his senses. These senses are just like a, if you give one thing, it will demand 100 things. If that is the propensity of the senses. The Krishna describes it is very difficult to control the senses. And but a devotee, it is not that much difficult. Yata samharichayam kurmongani vasarvashaha indriyadebhyaha tasya prajna pratistita. One has to take back his senses from the materialistic things like a tortoise. It takes its limbs into the shell whenever it sees the danger. Likewise, a devotee does not expose his senses to the materialistic things, enjoyment. So here, such a person is mean and selfish and greedy, driven only by the lust for pleasure. So here, Ramchandra is mentioning what kind of person he is. He is a selfish, greedy, driven only by the lust. These are the Trividam Narakasyedam Dwaram Nashanam Atmanaha. This is the Kama, Krodha, Lobha. These are the three of them. It will ruin one's life. Trividham Narakasyedam Dwaram Nashanam Atmanaha. Dwaram means the entrance. Nashanam Atmanaha. It will ruin his spiritual existence if he is fall under the clutches of Kama, Krodha, Lobha. That's why one has to leave these three things. And his immediate happiness soon turns into distress and he sinks into hellish condition. And here Ram appeared very angry as he refuted Jabali. His eyes were red and he spoke gravely. That is needed. Here Rama is a dharma. He needs to stand on the dharma side. That is again Yada Yada Hi Dharmasya Abhyudhanam. What is that? Yada Yada Hi. Can anyone say that shloka, please?
यदा यदा हि धर्मस्य ग्लानिर्भवति भारत अभ्युत्थानमधर्मस्य तदात्मानं सृजाम्यहम्.
One more shloka, Mataji.
परित्राणाय साधूनां विनाशाय च दुष्कृतम्. Is Prabhu this one?
Yes, yes, yes.
अभ्युत्थानमधर्मस्य तदात्मानं सृजाम्यहम्. Did I say right, Prabhu?
Paritranaya
साधूनां विनाशाय च दुष्कृतम् धर्मसंस्थापनाय संभवामि युगे युगे.
Very beautiful. Okay, so here, Glanir Bhavati, whenever there is a Glani is the kind of a disturbance to the Dharma. And for that, Dharma Samsthapanadhaya, the Lord appears to establish the religious path. So here, as soon as he heard such kind of words, Rama is very angry. O atheistic one, then this entire earth would be cast into ruin if I follow the path espoused by you. O atheist one, then this entire earth would be cast into ruin. All men follow the king's example, abandoning the religious path, and the people would become licentious and uncontrolled because my king has already followed like that. Why can't I? And they will take it as a granted. Nowadays, we have got so many of sinful people sitting on the positions as ministers and chief ministers like that. It is people will take that one as granted. When he is doing that, why can't I? In such a way, they will be uncontrolled. Chaos would prevail and everyone would suffer. So here, Rama's duty is to condemn Jabali's words, and Rama is very angry at Jabali. Okay, so and then let us see what is further. We shall read next page of paragraphs. Usha Mataji, would you like to read Mataji, please? Until here.
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Um, Jabali sat down before Ram with his palms joined and his uh, head bowed. He said nothing as Ram explained how the attempt to find happiness through sense enjoyment was futile. Both the sense and their enjoyments are soon destroyed. Only the soul and God are eternal, along with the spiritual realms where the Lord resides. Those who are actually learned therefore follow the path of truth, which leads to those ever-existing realm of bliss. Ram paused and gradually his anger subsided. After some minutes, he spoke again. My father was wedded to truth. Following his instruction will lead only to happiness. I shall therefore remain in those woods and Bharata should rule the earth. This will be our only assurance of happiness, both in this world and the next. O Jabali, you should not speak in this way again, for to mislead the people in a very great sin. Ram, having spoken to instruct all people, silent. He knew Jabali's heart and did not feel anger toward him, only toward his words. The people's pain was Ram's pain, and he knew that Jabali's presentation of hedonism led only to fail. Saying it is exactly as you say, Jabali prostrated himself before Ram and returned to his place among the other Brahmins. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you, Mataji. So now Jabali, after he spoke, and Rama is gravely speaking, and he was angry, and further he continued and explained, um, because the attempt to find happiness through the sense enjoyment was futile. So here, as Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Krishna describes in so many ways, the senses only it will end up in the misery. If the sense gratification end up in the miseries. So here Rama is mentioning those things, explaining the same knowledge again to all the people here assembled. So both the senses and their enjoyments are soon destroyed because they are temporary. Body and senses, they will be gone in due course of time. Only the soul and God are eternal. So again in the Bhagavad Gita, the um, five topics. It is out of five topics. Four topics are eternal topics: the God, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the individual soul, time factor, and Prakriti. And these are eternal. And karma is not eternal. Karma can be stopped, but these four are eternal. Ramchandra explaining, soul and God are eternal, along with the spiritual realms where the Lord resides. This is spiritual abodes, they're all eternal. Those who are actually learned, therefore, follow the path of truth, which leads to those ever existing realms of bliss, Vaikuntha planets. One must aim for that. But that can be only following the path of truth. What is truth? Again, it based on the we have to accept the Vedic injunctions as the reference for everything, and we need to maintain truthfulness means whatever is happening, we need to speak the same thing. Okay, and then Rama passed, and gradually his anger got subsided. Now, after some minutes, he spoke again, and Rama is mentioning, "My father was wedded to truth." So, because Dasharatha was always stand by the truth, and that's why only for the sake of standing for the truth, he gave the promises to Kaikeyi. And then he sent Ramachandra to the forest, and he also said, "Let Bharata become a king." And then now, in order to keep those words, but still his attachment for Rama is not stopped. So Dasharatha, he was standing for the truth all the time. Following his instruction will lead only to the happiness. Ramchandra knows. I shall therefore, otherwise, why Ramchandra would take birth in the family of Dasharatha if he is not truthful? That is the one more symptom. Okay, so I shall therefore remain in these woods, and Bharata should rule the earth. This will be our only assurance of happiness. So even though the happiness path, it is a bit hard, one must take to that one. Some people, for the temporary convenience, they will take shortcuts and later, which would end in the distress. That is not advised in our day-to-day life. Some people, they wanted to do shortcut happiness. We do not do that. Even though it is a bit hard, we patiently wait and go through the hard, and then we see the happiness. That is eternal. But temporary things which comes in the shortcuts by sense gratificatory things or lying or something like that, that will end up in the miseries. So that assurance of happiness both in this world and the next. O Jabali, you should not speak in this way again, for to mislead the people is a very great sin. Because Jabali is a Brahmana, and Rama is now mentioning to Jabali here. And then further, Rama, having spoken to instruct all the people, uh, fell silent. He knew Jabali's heart and did not feel anger toward him. He's a Brahmana, he must be knowing all this knowledge. And Jabali is one of the ministers of Dasharatha. Okay, so and here Rama is only about his words, what he spoke, not to the personify. Here, there is no personal things here specifically. There are no personal things. Sometimes we may say, you speak like that, you do like that. We should not use the words you and you, something like that. So one must be addressing what is the problem here. The only the words, not the person. Persons are generally, they're pure. The soul is pure, and only the conceptions. And here, as a Brahmana, he knows what is his position. And Ramachandra also knows, because Ramachandra lived in the same palace. Jabalaji is the minister of the Dasharatha. So he knows Jabali's heart. So he did not feel anger toward him. And the people's pain was Rama's pain. And he knew that Jabali's presentation of hedonism led only to the pain. That's why Rama has to condemn the words of Jabali. Okay, so and then saying as soon as Rama has again reassured. So Jabali also knew that Rama is always truth personified. He is dharma personified. He has got all good qualities. He already knew, but for the sake of saying, he mentioned. Okay, but here Rama has condemned those words again. And now Jabali prostrated himself before Rama and returned to his place among the other Brahmins. Okay, so this is in our day-to-day life. If we see such kind of people, we must be very careful. They may try to help us, but they wanted to give some kind of, which is a kind of a shortcut for our happiness, but we should not accept unless it is approved by the Vedic injunctions. यः शास्त्रविधिमुत्सृज्य वर्तते कामकारतः न सुखम् न सिद्धिम् अवाप्नोति न सुखं न शान्तिं न. What is that shloka? In the 17th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, यः शास्त्रविधिमुत्सृज्य वर्तते कामकारतः. If keeping shastras aside and if he is acting on his own things, न सिद्धिम् अवाप्नोति न सुखम न param gatim. He does not attain any siddhis. Na siddhim avapnoti. He does not get. Na sukham na param gatim. No happiness, no peace of mind. So one must follow the sattvic injunctions. Okay, we should not take the shortcut words for happiness. Okay, we shall read next page of paragraphs. Okay, can I request Halma Mataji to read next page, please? And this Vasistha to here.
Hare Krishna. Vasishtha stood up and spoke in the midst of the assembly. This Jabali knows well of the soul and its actual happiness. He spoke only out of his desire to see you installed as the king. This is also my desire, O Raghava. As the emperor's eldest son, it behooves you to now accept the throne. You need entertain no doubt in this regard. Vasishtha recounted the history of Rama's line. One by one, he named the previous king and explained how each had handed the kingdom to their eldest son. Finally, he said, O Rama, this is my instruction to you. I am your preceptor, and as such, I am more worthy of your obedience than your father. Indeed, I was also his preceptor. Therefore, I command you to accept the throne of Ayodhya. The sage had spoken only out of love. He was aware that Rama was enacting a divine plan by remaining in the forest, but still he longed for him to return. Rama looked with affection at Vasishtha and replied, the debt owed to one's parents cannot be easily repaid, O learned sage. They give everything they have for their children, feeding them, nurturing them, putting them to bed, and rubbing them with oil. The father and mother give their love at every moment. My worthy father's word should not prove false due to my negligence, for I wish to render him some service in return for his love. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Okay, so this is another important phase for ourselves as well. So here, Vasishtha is the spiritual master for Dasharatha and also his ancestors, and now Ramachandra also. So now Vasishtha stood up and then now he is mentioning about Jabali. So he is a devotee Brahmana only, knows very well of the soul and the actual happiness. He spoke only out of his desire to see you installed as the king. That is only his desires. Otherwise, there is no other duality in the words of Japali. And Vasishtha says, "This is also my desire, O Raghava. As the emperor's eldest son, it behooves you to now to accept the throne. You need you need entertain no doubt in this regard. Don't doubt this." So Vasishtha is mentioning, and also in the level of spiritual master to the disciple. Okay, this one we need to carefully understand. In our day-to-day life, we come across spiritual master and the disciple. Vasishtha recounted the history of Rama's line. Only by one, he named the previous kings and explained how each had handed the kingdom to their eldest son. Finally, he said, "O Rama, this is my instruction to you. I am your preceptor, and as much as such, I am even more worthy of your obedience than your father. Indeed, I was also his preceptor. Therefore," so he is mentioning, "I am preceptor to your father also, and to you as well. So therefore, I command you to accept the throne of Ayodhya." When spiritual master says we should not deny anything. Now we see what words the Rama speaks here. The sage had spoken only out of love. He was aware that Rama was enacting a divine plan by remaining in the forest, but still he longed for him to return. Now, Vasishtha is mentioning to Ramachandra to come to Ayodhya and accept the throne. Okay, this is out of love. Now Rama looked with affection at Vasishtha and replied, "Now it is when we are speaking to spiritual master, we must be very careful." And Rama is very young there at that point of time. And Vasishtha is spiritual master even to the father of Ramachandra, Dasharatha's spiritual master, and also so many other his fathers. That here Ramachandra is mentioning the putting the right cause when you are speaking to spiritual master is very important. The debt owed to the one's parents cannot be easily repaid. O learned sage, they give everything they have for their children, feeding them, nurturing them, putting them to bed, and rubbing them with oil. The father and mother give their love at every moment. My Vatti father's word should not prove false due to my negligence, for I wish to render him some service in return for his love. So, this is the first duty. So the similar kind of situation also came whenever Ramachandra was to marry Sita Devi. At the time, Vishwamitra, uh, he has taken Rama and Lakshmana to the Janaka's palace, and then there, on the permission of Vishwamitra, so Rama wanted to try to lift that bow, and then he lifted, and then later when he was stringing, it broke. And immediately Sita Devi brought the flower garland and put in the neck of Ramachandra. But when they are saying that you are my husband, then of course that. But here, Vishwamitra, Ramachandra says that one. It is not my duty that accept Sita as my wife. It is not my decision. My father is there. It is not also spiritual master's thing. My father is. Vishwamitra did not say a single word at that point of time. Vishwamitra knew that Rama is always bound by the dharma, and getting a bride for the child, it is the duty of the father. So, and then immediately when Rama says those words, and then Janaka Maharaj, he has sent the messengers to Ayodhya to bring Dasharatha, and then Dasharatha was very happy to hear that, and he knows about Janaka Maharaj. So they're also in the same lineage of the Ikshvaku, in the Ikshvaku Vamsha. So one side is Ramachandra, then the father's Dasharatha's lineage in the upwards, and also Janaka Maharaj also comes in the same. If we look at the Bhagavatam family tree. And then Rama, after that, Dasharatha came then, and then they have Dasharatha and Janak Maharaj sit together, and they have decided that this marriage is approved. Marriage is approved, and they have arranged marriage. Until that point, until his father says, he did not simply accept Sita as his wife because Vishwamitra says, or Janak Maharaj request, or Sita Mata put the garland because his father. Similar kind of thing here. It is mentioning to Vasistha, saying that my Vatti father's word should not prove false due to my negligence. For I wish to render him some service in return for his love. So he is already bound by those words. Ramchandra is already bound by those words. He does not want to change, even the spiritual master says. So that is very a good reflection to hear when we are dealing with our spiritual masters. Okay. Um, okay, we stop this. I think everyone has got a chance to read Ramayana. Meena Mataji? Okay, Meena Mataji is here. Okay.
Sorry, I have to go other class showing okay.
You wanted to read or you wanted to?
I have to leave before because I have to join other class. But anyway, I'm back now, so I can read.
Okay, thank you, Mataji. Okay, so would you like to read Mataji? So this just only this page up to here, up to this point. Sorry.
Bharata turn from there.
So it was obvious that Rama.
Okay. Oh, it was obvious. Okay. It was obvious that Rama was not going to be convinced by anyone to leave the forest. Bharata suddenly stood up and exclaimed, seated upon blades of Krishna's grass spread on the ground, I shall remain here in front of Rama's door without taking food or water. I will not move until Rama agrees to accept the throne. Quickly grabbing a bunch of grass from near Rama's hut, Bharata spread it out and sat down. Rama said in surprise, "Oh Bharata, why do you take such a vow? Your duty is to rule the kingdom, not sit upon the ground like a destitute Brahmin." Bharata turned toward the people and implored, "Why do you not plead with my brother to return?" A leader of the Brahmin community stepped forward. "It is clear that Rama will not be swayed from his determination to follow his father's command. What can we do? Our hearts are breaking with the thought of Rama's separation." Rama gazed lovingly at the Brahmin and then said to Bharata, "Get up, O tiger among men, return to Ayodhya, become the king and rule with justice. In 14 years you will see me returned." Bharata stood up and replied to Rama, "If our father's order must be followed, then allow me to stay here in your place." Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Mataji. So now here Ramchandra, now he did not get convinced even Vasistha says. He has given the right causes to even Vasistha as well. Now Bharata, he also lost the hope. Now he wanted to try somewhere other in his lost things. And Bharata suddenly stood up and exclaimed, seated upon the blades of Kushagra, seated upon the ground, I shall remain here in front of Rama's door without taking food or water. I will not move until Rama agrees to accept the throne. Of course, some people, in order to convince the opposite party, they will take the last things like, this is my last thing, I will do it. Okay, so here Bharata's turn. And quickly grabbing a bunch of grass from near Rama's hut, Bharata spread it out and sat down. Rama said in surprise immediately, "Oh Bharata, why do you take such a vow? Your duty is to rule the kingdom, not sit down upon the ground like a destitute Brahmin." And Bharata turned toward the people. Now again one more taking chance. So Bharata is taking chances from coming to that point. He is applying all kinds of strategies to bring Ramachandra. Now he looked at the people and implored them, "Why do you not plead with my brother to return?" And the people, the leader of the Brahmin community, stepped and they say, so Rama is already clear. He will not be swayed from his determination to follow his father's command. What can we do? So there, everyone were addressing Ramachandra and also Bharata, trying to bring Rama to the Ayodhya. That is one thing. No one is exempted from that place. Everyone are trying to bring Ramchandra only, either Jabali or Vasistha or Bharata or Bharata and Shatrugna, and also the people. Everyone wanted to bring Rama. That is the main thing. Our hearts are also breaking with the thought of Rama separation. They are also acknowledging that. And Rama glanced lovingly at the Brahmin and then said to Bharata, get up, O tiger among men, return to Ayodhya, become the king and rule with justice. In 14 years, you will see me return. These conversations are so beautiful here. How the brothers are lovingly exchanging those words. And Bharata stood up and replied to Rama, if our father's order must be followed, then allow me to stay here in your place. So now Bharata is taking every chance, and I wanted to stay with you, Rama. I will stay here. I do not go without you. So likewise, Bharata he is now putting, we would see what he is going, Ramchandra is going to say. Let us see if you are going to complete any particular place. Okay, so I will read only one paragraph and then we'll stop and then we'll reflect on from the devotees' questions and answers and reflections. Rama gently admonished Bharata, telling him that it was not possible for one's promise to be fulfilled by another person. Rama had given his word, and it was he who had to keep that word. He promised that when he returned to Ayodhya, he would accept the throne, but he would not, under any condition, return before the 14 years had expired. This is Rama's determination. And here, one's promise to be fulfilled by, so it was not possible for one's promise to be fulfilled by another person. So in our past times, there are so many uh, the kings, because they have given the word, they do not hesitate to give even their body and life but to fulfill their promise. And there is one beautiful Sri Ramanjane Yuddham. So one beautiful movie. It was created by, I think, one of in the southern India. The conversation between Ramachandra and Hanuman. So it is Ramachandra wanted to hear because there is one person, Yayati. So he is a devotee of Ramachandra, and by the plan of divine, and he was to be punished by Ramachandra. But unknowingly, he came to the shelter of Hanuman. Hanuman gave him assurance that I will protect you, do not worry. Later, Hanuman understands that it is Ramchandra wanted to kill Yayati. So, and then the Hanuman, he was bit bewildered what to do. Now, my master, I am the devotee of Ramchandra. Ramchandra wanted to punish Yayati, but I have already given the promise. No, it is a Ramchandra has given his promise. He has given his Hanuman gave promise. No, how to deal with that situations? It is very beautiful. The conversations between during that time, Rama and Hanuman. It goes, Rama says that, oh Hanuma, you are the intelligent out of the monkeys. Now you are the very good servant of me. So just simply hand over him. But Hanuman doesn't, because he has given his promise to protect him. So he says, until I breathe my life, I do not deviate from. And if I deviate, because I am your devotee, Om Ramchandra, because I'm your devotee. So I do not deviate from my promise also. If I deviate, then it would be a bad name for my master. So those conversations are, it goes one side Hanuman very humbly, very intelligently speaking to Ramachandra, and Hanuman mentions Ramachandra, just for the sake of keeping the promise, your father has left his life already, and you have just for the promise, you went to the forest for 14 years. And in the family dynasty, Sibu Chakravarti, he has cut his body for the sake of the bird, for the sake of eagle, to weigh as much weight as the bird. So there is another pastime, the eagle and bird chasing the bird, and then eagle came to that king. So king has give protection to the bird, and he says that I will give the as much weight as the flesh from my body, so that you can have the flesh. But eagle does not accept. But later on, there's a compromise. But even though he gives cutting his body and putting in the scale, it does not weigh as much as the bird. So he understands. Finally, he only sit in the scale. So he gave himself for the eagle to eat in terms of the bird instead of the bird for the sake of the promise. So this is the lineage of keeping the promise. So one cannot, if the king wanted to give something else, some food to the bird, that is not a possible. So this is to maintain the promise, the truthfulness. It is not that much easy. So here Ramchandra is mentioning it was not possible for one's promise to be fulfilled by another person. In such a way, gently admonished Bharata. So now Rama had given his word at that, and it was he who had to keep that word. And he promised that when he returned to Ayodhya, he would accept the throne, and he would not, under any condition, return before the 14 years had expired. This is the firmness in Rama's determination. Okay, it's such a beautiful conversations, but there are so many reflections and takeaway points for ourselves. Okay, I stop here, and I request dear devotees, kindly share your, if you have got any questions or any reflections from this Ramayana part. Hare Krishna.
There's other story about Harishchandra as well, isn't it?
Yes.
That Harishchandra only gave, like in his dream, that he thought that he has given everything to Durvasa or somebody, and he has done in his dream, but still, like next day when that Rishi came, he just given everything, and then Rishi said that now you gave me this dal, now you have to give dakshina. So he said, I want 100 sona more, like. Then he asked for 100 sonamot at the time. Then this king ordered his servant that give 100 sonamot. But then Rishi that came, he said, not, you had already given everything to me. This 100 sonamot you have to earn, you have to work. And because he all over the earth, he belonged to him. But that the place called Kasi, that is not on the come under the earth. So just Bhagirath ji, went there and he has sold his, his son and also his wife. So yeah, there's something, yeah, to get this sonamo.
Yeah. So there is again, that is a different Satya Harishandra's pastime. That is only
Yeah.
a promise.
But it's just promise, but still, how just given this promise, still they're stuck with only dream. He just given his promise. So,
Yes, Mataji. So that's a beautiful thing as well.
yeah. So how so that story will come back again, isn't it? Like how Bharata will be agree that he will go back again. That will become further up answer for that.
Yeah. So here, Ramchandra is now firm here. So he says that Ramchandra promised that when he returned to Ayodhya, he would accept the throne. He has assured Bharata now that he would accept the throne. That is one happy news for Bharata. He would accept the throne.
Mhm.
And another thing, he would not, under any condition, return before 14 years had expired. So he says he would live in the forest for 14 years. That is another thing. One side is the happy news for Bharata. There is a hope that Rama is going to come back. and another side is Rama's firm determination that he would stay back in the forest.
Then afterwards, after that, Bharat agreed.
Yes, Mataji. So he would agree. So again, he takes the sandals of Ramchandra and then putting on top of his head, and then he will go. Of course, that one we shall continue that in the next session.
But I heard like from Tulsi Ramayana, like from somebody said that if you are loving somebody like Bharata is loving to Ram, so he cannot something Ram want, he cannot go against. So even though like Janaka has asked, they have asked, Janaka also went to the jungle, and when they asked like to do what, so at that time the Janaka I said favor to the Bharata. I said your decision, whatever you think that will be, Ram will also follow. But at that time Bharata don't want to blind Ram, because he loves him, so he doesn't want him to what according to him. That's why he has agreed. I think that's what I heard from that
Yeah, so
Tulsi Ramayana.
there are different versions of Ramayana, but here
Yeah.
Valmiki Ramayana is the most authorized version. So this is what we follow.
But yeah, that's why I say if you are loving somebody, you cannot bind them. You have to give their independence. Like as Radha Rani has, and Krishna left, but yeah, Radha is allowed to have him, because the same thing is loving relationship. You do not have to like do whatever you like. I think
Yes.
that is also a very good example.
That is true. Yes, Mataji. If we like, if we love someone, we need to respect their feelings. Then
Yeah.
that is
And
the reflection.
this was like Bharata has done. That was that said.
Yes.
Okay, Hare Krishna. Thank you. Sorry for the time. Take.
Thank you, Mataji. But it is a nice reflection and discussions. Thank you so much. Okay, any other questions, Usha Mataji? You wanted to share anything else?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. No, but reading the Bharat and Ram's love, like a brother, it's so nice to hear. And how the Bharat was listening to Ram, and then he has to go back to Ayodhya. But the one condition, he takes the Ram's, he said sandals, and then he can put it on the throne, and then maybe he can rule. Yeah. So how much love Bharata is showing to Ram. And the Ram also is so loving to Bharat. So both way. So when you have a loving relationship, you have to give up some. You're like, yeah, that is brothers love. So, really nice, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu, for having the Ramayana.
Thank you, Mataji. So here, one point here, so this is happening. When their divine brothers are speaking, so what is happening there? Many sages were present and listened intently to the conversation between the two divine brothers. They were thrilled and astonished, thinking of deep import of their discussion. Hosts of heavenly rishis, along with the gods, stood invisible in the sky. The divine beings then spoke so that only Rama and his brothers could hear. This one we would come and cover in the next session, but I just the divine beings then spoke so that only Rama and his brothers could hear, no one else. That Rama's purpose is to stay in the forest to kill demonic people like that. And then Bharata goes back, and then once it is finished, Rama will return back. This will be known only to the four brothers, Rama and Lakshmana, Bharata, Shatrugna, only those. Divine beings then spoke so that only Rama and his brothers could hear, no one else. So during that conversation, these heavenly rishis along with the gods stood invisible in the sky. So this would adjust the environment. That one we shall cover next Sunday. Thank you, Mataji. So we are half past now. If you're all happy, then we
Thank
shall
you.
Whole question,
Yes,
not
Mataji.
for this topic, but like I don't know whether it's time then we
Yes,
have time.
yeah, go on, Mataji.
This Anchad on Friday, you said like even like when Kapila Muni given the example from there that even dog eater can come in the Krishna is the more than like the devotee like who are not. So how can the dog eater or like eating meat come to the Krishna consciousness in first place?
Yes, that is a very good question. So a person takes a birth in the family of the Chandalas, who is a dog eaters. And then if he is coming in contact with the devotees, so here this is described here by Devhuti Mata in the 33rd chapter. So Swadopi Sadhyaha Savanaya Kalpate. And even this Chandala will become elevated to perform the sacrifices. So this is described here in the sixth shloka. यन्नामधेये श्रवणानुकीर्तनात् यत् प्रहवनात् यस्मरणादपि क्वचित् स्वादोऽपि सद्यः सवनाय कल्पते कुतः पुनस्ते भगवन्नो दर्शनात्. To say nothing of the spiritual advancement of persons who see the Supreme Person face to face. Even a person born in the family of dog eaters immediately become eligible to perform Vedic sacrifices if he once utters the whole name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead or chants about him, hears about his pastimes, offers him obeisances, or even remembers him. So here Prabhupada is describing how those things in this purport, sadhyaha, very immediately he is eligible to perform. So when the person comes to Krishna consciousness, once he is done with the sinful activities, yesham tvantagatam papam jananam punyakarmanam tedbhandva moha nirmukta bhajante mam dృఢవ్రతాః. So once they done with all sinful activities and started accumulating pious activities, by that strength of pious activities, later on, he come to Krishna consciousness and meet some of the devotees. Later on, that life, Krishna conscious life starts. So this is some kind of austerities and penances that were performed.
So he has done some austerities, then he can come like he has done something good. Then he can make the devotee or like that.
So here the Chandala means otherwise, unless he is done with, even though he is born in the Chandala's family, but he does not like the activities of the Chandala's business.
Yeah.
So there we may see some people taking birth in the lower families. They maybe they may be intelligent. They are giving some kind of understanding that they do not like killing of animals. Sometimes we hear, and such kind of people come in contact with Krishna consciousness and trying to chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and they will get a determination that they wanted to progress in the Krishna consciousness. So though born in the Chandalas family, they do not like that activity. They do not like.
How do they do not like the activity if it's the childhood they are just looking that?
Yes, this is again going to why the child does not like the
I know
Chandala.
like Sabri, you got example of the Sabri as well. But how did they have performed? Like how did they not like childhood they just seen that things.
So it is again the desires of a living entity in the past. That one it needs to reflect what is the previous life and those things. So those activities are to be balanced in the next life, so that he will take birth in the Chandala's family because of some of the desires. At the same time, some of the pious activities, he may not like it, the activities of a Chandala. For example, there is before Bhishma Deva appears in the womb of Ganga Mata, those are the eight Vasus. They were cursed by Vasistha Muni, and during the same time, Ganga Mata was also about to come to this earth and then get married, the Shantanu. During the time, Vasus asked Ganga Mata that we also wanted to take birth in the earth, but we do not want to take birth in the ordinary human beings. So this is happening before their birth, and then Ganga Mata accepted that their request that okay, you can take birth in my womb, and then as soon as you take birth, and I will drown in the waters, and then you will retain your original bodies back immediately. But what Prabhas, that is the Bhishma Deva, he would he would be living there for longer period because that curse was prominent for him. So that one is described. And likewise, a living entity, because of his previous life, he may be taking birth in the Chandala's family, but he may not like that activity. And he may be carrying out attracted to the pious activities. And then, but still, because he is taken birth in the family of a Chandala, that's why he is called Chandala. But later on, say here, Prabhupada may be describing here, but a person who chants uh, the holy name of the Lord, even if born in a family of Chandalas, dog eaters, does not need reformation. Simply by chanting Hare Krishna, he immediately becomes purified and becomes as good as the most learned Brahmana. But he must be determined. It is not just one sake and then doing it. But here, Prabhupada mentioning um, simply by chanting Hare Krishna, he becomes purified. But he does not take his steps back again, engaging in Chandalic activities. It is the nature. But sometimes there is, if we see some of the pastimes, there is one of the conversations between Kausika and Dharmavyada. Dharmavyada is a butcher, though he is acting as a matter of duty, and his duty is because he is born like that in the family. He will kill only one animal for that day, and then he will sell the flesh of that animal only for his livelihood sake. And then he does not kill for to eat the animal sake, to earn the livelihood. For that sake, he does that, and then he feed his family. He does not eat meat, but he kill the animal and sell the flesh to the other people and get the livelihood. So that was his duty. And Kaushika, a sage, he was trying to get the instructions from the Dharmavyada. So then he was wondered how this person, butcher, he is able to give all these instructions to me. And then he says that again, going to the transcendental knowledge, um, one must not be addicted to the results of his fruitive activities. Work from free, work as a matter of duty without any attachment to the results. So here, as even though born in the Chandala, he is not attracted to that activities and Chandalic activities. He is not consuming any of the dog flesh like that.
Okay.
So when he is coming to Krishna, if we see all these people, many people in this Krishna consciousness, now they're chanting and purified, taking second initiation, becoming a Brahmana, and then perform chanting Gayatri mantra, and then later on performing sacrifices as well to initiate other devotees, and in the day engaging in the deity worship. We are practically seeing it day to day. So otherwise, how could it is possible for the Westerners to do the deity puja and worship and everything else?
Yeah.
These are
Yeah.
our practical examples.
Yeah. Prabhupada made them going to.
Yes, the purity is the force.
Yeah.
We
That's
simply
a good, the pure devotees like association as well as work.
yes, Mataji.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thanks for your time.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Okay, so we shall conclude for today. And
One
to
chapter.
the meditation.
One
कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च परितानां
पतितमनं पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः अनन्तकोटिवैष्णववृन्द की
की जय श्रील प्रभुपाद
जय।
जय
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Krishna conscious day everyone. Mataji.
Thank you.